Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Metal Magdalene with Jet Halloween special. Tonight we have our resident Halloween guest with us back on the show. Artist, musician, horror memorabilia collector, and enthusiast and novelist, Mr. Jeremy Wagner. Welcome back to the show, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me back, Jet. Much appreciated.
So tonight's show is all Halloween-y and creepy and horror and all that kind of stuff. So Jeremy, when exactly was it that you started to become slowly obsessed with horror?
I'd say I really started, the fuse was lit probably when I was about age 3, and I realized what Halloween was, and I like the idea of dressing up and trick-or-treating, of course. The incentive for dressing up is to get candy, so I'm sure my memory isn't that good going that far back, but I'm sure our psychiatrist would tell me that, can't dress up and you get candy. It's real easy to put the two together. But I really do recall loving Halloween, the decorations, ghosts, goblins, witches, monsters, all that good stuff. And my mother recalls when I was probably really around 3 or 4, I wanted to be Dracula one year. So she got me a little vampire costume with a cape and one of those cheap 1970s plastic masks that had the elastic rubber band on the back that you put over your face. And she says I put that costume on and I put that mask on, and I went up to a bathroom to look in the mirror, and my tiny little brain couldn't comprehend that the reflection I was looking at in the mirror was me wearing a mask, but I didn't get that. I thought there was a friggin' vampire in the mirror. It scared me to death, and she came up there and found me curled in a ball in a corner of the bathroom, scared out of my mind. So that didn't deter me, though, from falling in love with horror and being, into spooky, scary things. One year, I also remember I was really into witches. I thought witches were really cool, and actually I still think witches are cool. I've dated a few, too, so have always been a part of my life. But seriously, I actually went trick-or-treating as a witch, and I think my dad and some of his buddies looked at me a little different, because I was wearing a wig and I'm wearing a dress. Hey, screw it, man. I've done it all, trick-or-treating. So anyway, love Halloween, and Jed, I think that's where really everything started. And I was can remember, pretty clearly a little later, age 5, I was really getting into monster movies and more what I would call scary books. I went from scary kids books and classic kids books, Dr. Seuss and all that. And I started actually reading my mother's Alfred Hitchcock mystery anthologies, and not long after that, Stephen King came out with his first novel, Carrie. Mm-hmm. My mom had that, and I read that, and one of my favorite novels and movies is Jaws, and I remember Jaws being the novel, that is, by Peter Benchley, was the first horror novel that I actually read that was an adult novel, and I finished the whole book, and I had a real aptitude, I guess you could say, for reading. And then from there, around that same year, age 5, I started writing my own fiction, short stories at age 5. So movies super late at night when they come on TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then she bought me the first issue of Fangoria magazine when it came out, with Godzilla on the cover. And, you know, and then in that first issue of Fangoria is where I saw these other horror movies behind the scenes of what were coming out. You had, you know, gore special effects guy Tom Savini in there, you know, and that had a huge effect on me. So it just snowballed and snowballed, and here we are. Now I'm a horror novelist. Broken Hope, since day one, has been all about horror imagery, and all the lyrics I write for the band, as people know or don't know, are like little bursts of micro horror fiction. And there's always an element of horror or dark things in what I do creatively, I guess. So yeah, it's just in my DNA, you know. Same reason we've got Greg Nicotero doing horror effects and helping make the Walking Dead TV series. Or you have Stephen King, who's a horror author, and John Carpenter, who's one of the greatest horror directors. All these people have what I have. They've got that horror DNA in them. They've got that horror kid still inside them, you know, and it's cool. And look at horror culture. I mean, there's like dozens and dozens of horror magazines on the newsstand. You know, Halloween's like one of the biggest money-making holidays of the year. It celebrates all the spooky, creepy monster stuff, and then horror movies are at an all-time high of popularity, and it's just cool. And then there's horror conventions like Day of the Dead, for example, or Walker Stalker Con, and these are things that are worldwide, you know. So it's just really cool. And anyway, it's just a big part of my life. If I wrote romance novels, we'd be talking about romance right now and how big romance is. And, you know, romance novels, romance movies, romance conventions. It's a genre thing. It's a cultural thing. And I love it, you know.
And it's fun. And Jeremy, you have like, you collect the memorabilia and stuff like that too. And what's like your favorite piece that you own?
Well, it's funny you say that. I just did a thing over the last 3 days where I had a camera person kind of crew that was at my house for 3 days, cataloging all of my memorabilia, horror memorabilia, with video and photos and stuff for some different, you know, horror culture sites and stuff. And as I was going through all this stuff and having the video and photo work done, I was thinking about, like, well, I actually pointed out to the film person, like, oh yeah, this piece is really a significant piece because of this. This piece is really important. So I've got like I'd say like the top 5, let's say, horror memorabilia, you know, pieces. And one of which would be I have a Jaws tribute room, and in that tribute room, it's all Jaws memorabilia and paraphernalia and stuff. And I actually have a screen-used barrel and harpoon from the actual movie Jaws. So anyone that's familiar with the movie, by the way, I have to say anyone who's familiar with the movie, because I've been shocked to learn there are people out there who have not seen Jaws. I'm not talking little kids. Now I'm talking about adults my age have never seen Jaws, and I guess I just assume everyone in the world's seen it. So, but I've been wrong about that. But anyway, in the movie Jaws, Captain Quint yellow barrels on the boat, and he shoots 3 of the barrels into the shark to try and slow it down and make it actually drown, so it can't move. So I've got one of those barrels that were on the boat and all that good stuff, and then one of the harpoons, which was like a
cool.
prop that actor Robert Shaw, you can see him screwing onto the harpoon gun and all that stuff. So that's like a crown jewel in my collection because I'm such a Jaws fan. It's one of the most iconic movies in movie history. So anyway, so that's really big deal to me. And then I've got this really cool piece of artwork by the great H.R. Giger, who is due to basically design and created Alien back in 1979, and he was involved in a movie years later called Species, which was another like alien type movie with a female alien. So I've got this super big like piece of artwork he did for that female alien design. It's got to be like 9 feet tall, and Giger drew the whole thing and added pieces to it and stuff. It's really cool. And H.R. Giger, he's like one of my biggest or favorite artists of all time, period. He's just absolutely incredible. So that piece from Giger really means a lot to me. And then there's a statue I have. It's a bronze statue, very rare limited edition piece that was made by a man named Ray Harryhausen. And Ray Harryhausen is like the godfather of stop motion special effects. So he did all these classic movies with stop motion animation. He was a real pioneer. So classic movies like The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Clash of the Titans, Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, Valley of Gwangi, all this stuff. And this bronze is like, it's a dinosaur, like a Tyrannosaurus, that's menacing a caveman and a cavewoman, and it's called Prehistoric Challenge. And when I told you I was getting into horror and monsters starting at age 3, Ray Harryhausen and all these movies that he did, like in the 60s, were on TV when I was a little kid, and I was just instantly enthralled and in love with these movies because of the stop motion animation. So to have a piece like this that Ray Harryhausen made is a big deal to me because he's a huge hero of mine. And then two, like, it's not screen-used memorabilia, it's an actual art piece he made. So that's even, I think, cooler in a way, because I got a lot of art at the house and stuff that I love. So that piece is significant. And then other than that, it's not quite horror, but it's relevant to horror, is a painting by the most legendary fantasy painter, illustrator, artist, and that's Frank Frazetta. And I have a painting of, it's called The Executioner, and it was originally commissioned by Creepy Magazine in maybe 1967. You know, I know it was the 60s, and it was for the cover of one of their early issues. So Frank Frazetta did this painting, which is what totally awesome Frank Frazetta painting. You can Google it. Just Google Frank Frazetta, The Executioner, and you'll see it. And anyway, my friend and I guess co-Frazetta worshiper Kirk Hammett of Metallica, he's the guy I got that Executioner from, because I always wanted a original Frank Frazetta piece, but they're not like readily available. Once in a while they'll pop up at auction, and you know, young till now. And the thing with my collecting, Jet, I like to stress, with anything I own or collect, I only like to have things that I'm passionate about and into. Mm-hmm. So if I have horror memorabilia, it's either from movies that I really worship or artists who I worship. You know what I mean? I don't.
Of course.
I don't collect for the sake of collecting stuff. Everything I have has a personal connection to me, a personal meaning. So I always like to tell people that. You know, I'm not a super collector. I'm not a hoarder. I have stuff that I really am into, and I keep it on display. You know, in my private life, the stuff is out. It's not sitting in boxes and sitting in storage somewhere. It's actually out, and you can see it. And another thing is, I know I have a reputation for having this great horror memorabilia collection, and I'm proud to take that. However, my collection is jack shit nothing compared to like Kirk Hammett's collection or Guillermo del Toro's collection or Great Nicotero or the late great Forrest Ackerman from Famous Monsters of Filmland magazine. Those guys, they're on a level like leagues above me. I mean, they've got stuff from actual. I mean, I've got Jaws stuff from the movie, but they've got stuff like significant pieces from super famous movies, and just other stuff. You know, horror movie posters and just stuff that would floor you. You know what I mean? And so they're all kind of my heroes. I mean, I look up to all those guys I mentioned because someday I'd love to be on that level if I could have, some significant things. Of course, it would have to be from something I really like. We've talked before. John Carpenter's The Thing is my favorite horror movie.
Right.
So if I ever could get something from The Thing that was in the movie, I'd jump on that. But again, as cool as I think my collection is, there's other big boys out there that just put me to shame. But with that, I'm proud of what I got. And again, I'm a horror kid, dancing every day with all this shit.
So those people that came into your house, was that just to archive it all for insurance or something, or are you gonna release something?
Yeah, I've done. It's not for insurance. I've done that already on my own. Because I have to insure all that stuff, of course. But no, this is going to be used with a couple to be determined entities who are gonna run stuff. So, my publicist, Adrenaline PR, they have worked out 4 different places that stuff's going to be used. So
oh, cool.
I'm doing a top 10 horror memorabilia thing. I've got a tour of the Jaws room, a tour of the Thing room. All aspects of my collection are going to be offered with exclusive peeks of what I have that hasn't been available to the public yet. So Adrenaline's tying all that in. I'm breaking it up between, a few sources that'll, release the stuff. And, of course, tie it in with my new horror novel, Rabid Heart, which I'm promoting the hell out of. So there's the book promo angle, too, being woven in. But, it's going to be really cool. So this is all for me to share with everyone, actually.
Oh, nice. And since you brought it up, we're here to talk about your latest novel, then, Rabid Heart, already getting all kinds of critical acclaims from Publishers Weekly, Rolling Stones, all these other best-selling authors. and so much more. So what do you think of all these like great reviews so early into the book's release, Jeremy?
I'm really floored, like big time, with a lot of stuff. I've been really fortunate with some bigger, as you said, best-selling authors who I really admire and who are really cool to me, and they wanted to read Rabid Heart, and they did, and they gave me these blurbs and stuff, and I don't take that for granted. That means the world to me. And then the reviews. I've got reviews, like you said, Publishers Weekly. Today, as I'm talking to you, I got a really positive, fantastic review from a source called Kirkus Reviews. And Kirkus Reviews is it's really like the Wall Street Journal, Rolling Stone of the publishing industry, much like Publishers Weekly. Every library, every bookstore, and every really crazy book buyer reads Kirkus Reviews. And Kirkus Reviews have been around for 100 years, so they're very esteemed. They're extremely reputable, and they're always also notoriously known for giving hard-nosed reviews too. And goddamn, man, they gave me the greatest review I could ever hope for Rabid Heart. And that review just came out today.
Wow.
And my publisher is flipping out over it. my publisher's had books that have been horribly reviewed by Kirkus, and one author my publisher told me about today actually quit writing because their
man.
books are so bad for their book, which is a shame. You better learn how to take rejection and shit. I would never quit writing because of a bad review, but to that end, the publisher's trying to point out that that's how respected Kirkus Reviews are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm elated. But above and beyond these amazing, institutions, Publishers Weekly, Kirkus, Rolling Stone, whatever, that I'm very, again, grateful for, it's the readers who are in the last week of the book's release who have consumed the book really quick and just post pictures on all their social media of them with the book and saying how great it is and how they could put it down. I've had people go, I love the book cover so much that I wanted to read your book because of the cover, and I don't even like horror. And I read your book, and your book was so fast-paced. It was an incredible ride, and I really enjoyed it. All that stuff, Jet, really means the world to me. Most importantly, is the readers. And so far, it's lifted my spirits and made me go, shit. This time, this newest novel of mine, I did something special with. And I love the book. I love the characters. I love writing the book. And, I worked so hard on it. I'm so intimately involved with the damn book. It's like a child, It's like putting out an album, like a record, record. I put a lot of energy and love into it, and to see it being embraced so well, it's I don't know, this will be hard to believe, but I'm speechless.
Well, it's almost like, I know, that's hard to believe coming from you, Jeremy.
Speechless.
But it's like you said this time around, too. It's magical. I mean, everybody's picking it up. A lot of my friends, Kevin Sharp from Brutal Truth and Lock Up, I got it, and then he got it right away too, and it's just kind of fun to see everybody picking it up. And you mentioned a little bit about the cover, so tell us a little bit about the cover art of this book. I mean, it's awesome. It just reminds me of like when we were talking earlier about like the movies that we watched when we were younger from the 70s and the 60s. That's what it kind of reminded me of. So how'd you go about getting this whole art done, Jeremy?
Okay, well, the story behind the cover art, there's a couple of things. The cover artist that I got for this cover, his name is Claudio Bergaman, and he's an exceptional artist. And when I signed my first book deal for my first book, The Armageddon Chord, I already wanted Claudio Bergaman to do my book cover for that book. But and he came up with this amazing sketch, and I thought it was great, and I wanted to go with it. Well, my publisher at the time, KRP Publishing, just sucked. They were so hard to deal with. The woman behind that company is just such an asshole. I actually had to sue her and the publisher because they ripped me off of all my royalties, book sales, and everything, like a lot of money. And I won the case. Not to get into that, but I've never seen it since. I still have a judgment over them and everything. But they were such assholes to work with, aside from ripping me off. They did not have any imagination. I showed them this sketch. I'm like, this dude's great. I want him to do the book cover. And they're like, no, we got something different in mind. And they fought me on it. And I knew right away, I'm like, God, I can't believe I'm with people like this. This sucks. So, needless to say, the Armageddon Chord book cover that we wound up with was still from another guy that I wanted, and it was a decent cover. It was okay, but I was really bummed because I wanted Claudio to do the Armageddon Chord. So the good news is, by the way, with the Armageddon Chord, my new publisher, Riverdale Avenue Books, Freed Books, they got the rights to the Armageddon Chord.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
When I won the court case against the publisher, the judge gave me the rights to my book back.
Nice.
And took it away from him. So that cover, that sketch, is now a cover. And wait till you see the new Armageddon Chord cover. It's awesome. And the novel's been revised. It's a expanded edition, and it's coming out in December.
Oh,
but
nice.
anyway, so Claudio, the artist, we kept in touch, and I had him do some special projects with me. Like, I have 3 custom ESP guitars that he built. That were built using Claudio's custom graphics for each one. Mm-hmm. And that was like back in 2009 or 2010. And we kept in touch. And then when I signed this new book deal, one thing about the people at this publishing house, one of them I've known for a long time, and she's always been great to me, Lori Perkins. She's one of the people behind Riverdale Avenue Books, Freed Books. And she's been in the business for like 30 years. And she's probably sold, 4,000 titles in her career. And she started her own publishing house going on 8 years. And, her knowledge and wisdom and her publishing house has been around long enough to prove what it can do. So, right out of the gate, I knew she was going to be great to work with, but she also has imagination. So, I'm like, I've got a cover artist. He's amazing. Let me have him do something up for Rabid Heart. You take a look at it, and if you dig it, we'll use it. If you don't dig it, we'll still want to use them. He can go back to the drawing board. Well, he came up with that sketch, that turned into the painting you see for Rabid Heart. And with that, I talked to Claudio. I told him what the book was about, gave a synopsis, and basically that's what he came up with. And one other detail that was important to me, Jet, was I wanted to go back old school. So, like, the type of cover art that horror novels had back in the 70s and 80s and even early 90s, where the cover art was fan-freaking-tastic. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That I wanted to capture that vibe, that vintage horror fiction vibe. Because I don't think that's ever gone out of style. In fact, I think that style of book cover is more popular than ever. In fact, there's a book a guy put out called Paperbacks from Hell, which is a visual history and collection of all of these amazing horror fiction titles of yesteryear. And that just came out this past year, and it displays how awesome all these book covers were. And there's tons of Instagram accounts devoted to vintage paperback covers, and it's an amazing thing. And I'm part of that whole movement, and that whole love of that thing. So it was important to me to get back to that great style of book cover, and I think I really pulled it off, because I've heard nothing. Here, I've not heard, and not one person said, "Oh, that cover blows."
It's awesome, like you said, and it's like you said, you captured that, because when you just look at it, like I have it sitting right here, when you look at the book cover, you get that feeling right away, like you're going back in time, like when you were a kid and you would get so excited for these movies and stuff. And I think that's why people get excited for the book too. Even the font that the title's in reminds me of, like, the titles of the movies back in the day, and it was just so fun. So, and I just wanted to mention too to a lot of people that, not everybody likes to read nowadays with this digital age and everything else, but this book is such an easy, fun read, and you don't even need to put on glasses to see little teeny tiny print, and it's just fun. And for people that are like, well, I don't read a lot of books, this is a great book, because the whole book is in regular everyday language. You know what I mean? There's no deep literary terms and shit. People don't want to have to think. They just want to read and have a good time and get immersed in this book. And I think the way that you wrote it, it's really visual. You feel like you're right in the story, is, going to be fun for the reader. Obviously it is, reading all the reviews already.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. That makes me happy that that's what you took from the book. Oh. And that's what a lot of people have been telling me. Even if you don't get a physical copy of the book, it's my publisher's done it all. They've gone, there's the digital version for Kindle, Nook, Mobi, whatever, that you can read. Of course, there's paperback and hardcover, and then there's audiobooks of Rabid Heart's coming out in a couple weeks through Audible, and it's really a format of the book for everybody. And back to, how you were talking about the print, the quality of the book, that's another thing I love about my publisher, is when they were putting this together with the artwork and the formatting and everything, the publisher, and mind you, this is an indie publisher, so they don't have like Random House or Simon & Schuster money, but they actually took an extra step to even make the paper a higher quality paper for print, and the color. So it wasn't like a standard white. They did this cream colored paper that really makes the type vibrant. We put in these little icons each chapter, which, by the way, Claudio designed all those icons.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it.
And so, the icons, the cover artwork, all that stuff comes together and really shows the reader before even reading what they're in store for. Even one other thing is when you open to the first chapter, the first thing you read are lines from Typo Negative's Black #1. Loving you was like loving the dead. The great Pete Steele. Well, I was, again, fortunate to have Typo Negative's music publishing company grant me permission to reprint those lyrics in Rabid Heart. And just reading the few lines from Typo Negative's Black #1, when you read "Loving you was like loving the dead," that's what you're in store for. And also, to your point, you said something like the book is written as if it's just written for everyday people with everyday characters. That means a lot to me to hear you say that, because one of my favorite authors is the great Elmore Leonard, and he's one of the greatest crime writers ever. And his use of dialogue just came right from the street, right from the friggin' grocery store, right from your neighborhood. His characters talk like normal people.
Right.
Also, Elmore Leonard, one of my favorite lines from him was like, he told and said something to an interviewer or wrote that when he writes and edits his books, he cuts out the boring parts. I take that to heart from Elmore Leonard. When I write Rabid Heart, the main character, Rhonda Driscoll, the book's about her. The book isn't about all the goddamn zombies that are known as the rabid zombies called Cujos. They're part of the fabric of the setting of the story. They play a role in why she's in the situation she's in. But the story focuses on Rhonda Driscoll's point of view. You as a reader, you're in her shoes. You're seeing the world through her eyes. And what is she? She's a 21-year-old former hairstylist who loved her fiancé, loved Starbucks and her friends, and now she's in friggin' a horror world full of all these, rabid Cujo zombies. And I think that it connects to the reader because, she's not Superwoman. She's a regular chick who, she's got some skills. She's a horror survivalist, but she also has PTSD and some other traumatic stuff that's really effed her up and screwed up her, her decision making and, her broken heart. And like all of us, she's flawed. Everyone has flaws, and I just tell a story with someone you can relate to, and I'm happy to hear that you could do that. So
absolutely, like I said, Jeremy, it's got like regular, everyday conversational prose in it, and I like it because, well, first of all, like you said, the Typo Negative lyrics there, right? Well, after you read that, after reading the book, you'll see how they fit perfectly with the book, and it's just really fun. It's like you said, when you introduce the character, a former hairdresser that goes to Starbucks and is gonna get married and all this other kind of stuff. So it really introduces you to the character, and then you're just like following her through the thing, and she's getting stronger, and the things that she's encountered with, and the things that she has to do now, and it's just a fun read that I think, when the time comes, when we have the apocalypse, that people could relate to, it's just a really fun book.
I've mentioned the word imagination a few times, and when I use my own imagination, specific to Rhonda Driscoll, with my imagination, I'm like, what would I do if, honest to God, I I lost my family members because this pandemic broke out. They all died, but I made it out, and now here I am on a military base. The world has gone to hell. The world is literally on its knees and effed up like, you know, like The Walking Dead, like a George Romero zombie movie. And what in God's name am I going to do? You know, and what am I going to miss about the old world? 6 months has gone by when you start Rabid Heart since the pandemic, the rabies virus pandemic started. 6 months later, like, putting yourself in that situation, what would the world be like 6 months, which is just the blink of an eye, and what, you know, what fear would you feel, what heartbreak, what loss, and what, aside from that, what the hell are you going to do to make sure you keep yourself alive, intact, and, you know, that's just the start. As you know, the story gets more complicated when Rhonda finds her fiancé, who she thought had died, was actually not alive and not dead. He's one of these undead Cujos, and she can't bring herself to kill him. It's like trying to put down a beloved pet that, you know, whose quality of life is shot, and they should be put out of their misery, but you can't bring yourself to do it. Same thing for Rhonda Driscoll. The love of her life, Brad, is this rabid, Cujified zombie, and she cannot kill him. And also, it doesn't help that Brad, who's in the throes and consumed with the this rabies virus, actually pulls his aggression back. There's actually like a spark of recognition for Rhonda still up in his, you know, rabid infused brain.
Right.
And that makes it harder for her, too, because he's trying to save her name, you know.
Right.
And then, again, so that fucks her up, and she's got trauma and PTSD from losing her family and thinking Brad's dead, and here he pops back up again. So she's really screwed up, and she just decides, I'll steal a Humvee so no one can harm Brad, and we'll run away to Florida from where she's at, North Carolina. We'll take a road trip. We'll find a nice sunny beach. Maybe I'll find a cure for Brad, and we'll live happily ever after. And that whole idea, it turns out to be one of the worst ideas she could ever have in her life, because she embarks on a road trip through hell, where just so much crazy shit happens. You don't know what she's going to come out in one piece or through a meat grinder. And well, I'll leave it at that for your listeners, so I won't spoil anything. But,
it's fun.
You know, it just shit snowballs.
It's fun, and it gets fun right away. You know what I mean? After you introduce her, and then she's going out, and after they tell her, don't go back to your house, don't go searching around there, just do your mission. She fucking goes back to the house. You know, she does all the stuff she's not to. You know, she finds Brad. And this happens soon, so it's not like you drag anything out right away. Something cool's happening, you're right? So it catches you, you know, right away, and it's just a really, really fun book. And Jeremy, also, you got like some giveaways and stuff going on, so tell people about those.
Okay, well, I had 2 giveaways going on side by side. One of which just ended, unfortunately. I wish it ran longer. It was with Publishers Weekly. And I was giving away 10 signed first edition hardcovers of Rabid Heart. That just ended the other day, but there's still a few days left to an amazing giveaway that I'm doing with Revolver Magazine and with so I partnered up with Revolver Magazine, ESP Guitars, and my publisher, Riverdale Avenue Books, Afraid Books. And what we've done is, one lucky winner will get a year's subscription to Revolver Magazine. They get a signed first edition hardcover of Rabid Heart. And on top of that, they get a brand new ESP black. It's called an M black metal guitar.
Wow.
Which is a pretty cool name for the guitar, and the guitar is so badass. It's beautiful. This thing is jet black. Get it?
I get it.
Jet black. It's almost like a matte black, and the fretboard has like no inlays. It's got one pickup, reverse headstock, and in fact the ESP LTD logo is so whack you can't even see it. This thing is like from the shadows or something. It's a sick guitar. So you got a brand new guitar in a hard case, my book, your subscription, and all you got to do to win is enter, and it's real easy. You can actually do it through my Instagram page. If you go to @Jeremy X Wagner, JeremyXWagner, @Jeremy X Wagner on Instagram.
And how long?
Go my bio, and the link is there, and you can click on it and enter right there.
How long is that running for?
That's going to run for, let's see, I think it's another maybe 5 or 6 days. I'm trying to think of the...
I posted it all over my page, too, for people to go check it out. I was just wondering if it was going to happen already before we air.
I think Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think it's... And this airs Tuesday, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it might end on your air date.
So maybe one of our listeners will be like the winner, for all we know.
Yeah.
That would be
that
cool.
That would be cool.
And Jeremy,
and lucky me, I have all this stuff at my house already from ESP and the books and stuff.
Oh,
so
nice.
I'll be personally shipping this through the winter.
Awesome. Yeah. And if people want to pick up the book, Jeremy, what are some of the outlets they could pick the book up at?
The book is literally available anywhere. Not all bookstores, will have it on the shelf, but that said, they can easily order it for you. The book is distributed through a company called Ingram, which is the biggest book distributor in the world. So, the great thing about that, it makes Rabid Heart readily available. So if you walked into a Barnes & Noble, or you walked into, I don't know, make up a name, Metal Messiah, this mom and pop bookstore, right? And they don't have it on the shelf. You just go to the counter and say, I want to order Rabid Heart. They pull it up. It's got the ISBN number, and boom, they can order it for you right there. Amazon, of course, has it readily available in every format. And Amazon, one of the pluses of Amazon is if you're a Prime member, you get it like next day, I think, for free.
Yep.
And all that good stuff. But really, any of your desired favorite places to purchase books, you'll find Rabid Heart. You can get it that easy.
And now, what is it off of? What, Riverdale Avenue Books? Is that the name?
Yeah, my publisher is called Riverdale Avenue Books /Afraid Books. And when I say /Afraid, Afraid is like their new horror line.
Oh, cool.
Of fiction. And I think Rabid Heart is the first pure horror title for the Afraid imprint. I know they're putting out some other titles under Afraid now as well, but they're getting kind of genre specific. They're like any publisher that has a variety of genres and stuff. So they've got thriller, they've got crime fiction, and on and on. So they really want to dedicate a line to horror, and lucky me, that's where I've got my home. So it's really cool, and they're a great publisher, really cool.
So there you guys go. Rabid Heart by novelist Jeremy Wagner is out now. Like he said, you could get it in any bookstore. It's super easy to get off of Amazon. And Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on the show to talk to us about the book, and I wish you all the great success with it, and happy Halloween.
Thank you very much, Jet. I want to wish you and your listeners a happy Halloween. Also, if I may, I do have two plugs I want to give.
Sure.
And that is something I'm excited about. And if you and any of your listeners can make it, I am doing a book signing and reading in Chicago, in my hometown area, at a place called Bucket of Blood Books.
Oh, cool.
On Thursday, October 25th. Not too far from Halloween. Perfect time to read some scary shit out of Rabid Heart. And I'm also just confirmed that I'm doing a book signing at a really awesome bookstore as well, just like Bucket of Blood in Chicago. It's called Dark Delicacies, and that's in Burbank, California,
Wow.
Los Angeles. And that's on Saturday, November 10th. And I'm doing a signing with three really cool authors, horror authors. And one of the horror authors I just want to pimp out just because I love his work so much is a guy named Steve Niles. And Steve Niles has done a lot of graphic novels and comic book stuff, and he's written some horror fiction, of course. But he's, to me and many people, you talk about horror memorabilia and horror movie culture, he's the dude who wrote and invented that vampire movie, 30 Days of Night.
Oh, yeah.
That came out some years, and I freaking love that movie. So, like, Steve Niles, that dude is signing, like, next to me in LA. So, you know, I'm all jazzed about that because, you know, I'm a horror geek. But along with Steve Niles and me, there's a gentleman named Ted Grau and Glenn Hirschberg, who some people in horror fiction world will know that. But anyway, thanks for letting me plug those two appearances. I'm really excited to do signings and readings. And all you Broken Hope fans, feel free to bring Broken Hope shit. I'll sign that